Hello everyone, this is Miss Byrd speaking. Today we're going to talk about finding rates of change. So rate of change is also known as slope. When you start looking at 8th grade math and Algebra 1, you can hear the name as slope or you can hear it as rate of change. So here I want to go ahead and go over number 1. Here it says the graph of the linear function y equals f of x passes through points 1 and 2 and 5 and negative 1. What is the rate of change of y with respect to x? Anytime you are asked to find the rate of change, what that means is they want to know what is the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y over the change in x. So you want to look here, and I notice that my point is x is 1 and your y is 2. And then right here you have 5 and negative 1, so this is x and this is y. So because we're looking for the change in y in the numerator, you're going to pick one point, and that's going to be your starting point. Okay, so let's say that I picked this one to be my starting point. Well, I'm going to start with y, which is negative 1, and I'm going to find the change. That means I'm going to subtract the other y, which is 2, so we're going to subtract 2 over the change in x. The change in x here is going to be 5 minus this x, which is 1. So when I do negative 1 minus 2, you end up with negative 3 over 5 minus 1 is positive 4. So this is your rate of change, negative 3/4. So negative 3/4 would be letter B. Okay, we're going to jump down to number 3. Number 3 says each change of 6 in the linear function f of x results from a change of negative 2 in x. What is the rate of change of f of x in relation to x? Whenever you see f of x, this is also known as y. It's just a fancy way of saying y. And so they're saying that each change of 6 in y is a result from a change of negative 2 in x. So if it's the change in y over the change in x, well, they just told you that the change in y is the 6, so you have 6 over the change in x is negative 2. So you have 6 over negative 2. When you simplify this, you end up with negative, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So that's our rate of change. The correct answer here is letter D. Number 5, tables are lined up end to end in a restaurant. The number of people who can be seated, y, is a linear function of the number of tables, x. A graph of the function passes through the points 3 and 20 and 5 and 32. What is the rate of change? Okay, so the rate of change we said was the change in y over the change in x. Here, this is x and this is y. This is x and this is y. It doesn't matter which one you pick, but you have to pick one of them to be first. So let's say I decide to go with this one. Well, the change in y is going to be 32 minus, and then we're going to do this y, which is 20, over this x. Remember, we picked this one first, so you have to stick to this one. 5 minus, and then this x is positive 3. So we're going to go ahead and simplify it. 32 minus 20 is 12 over 5 minus 3, which is 2. And then 12 divided by 2 is 6, which is letter C. Very good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to another example. Let's see here. Number 7. Okay, so now on number 7, they're giving us a graph. The change in the value of y in relation to x is modeled by the graph below. What is the rate of change of y with respect to x? So we're still going to look for the slope. And so to do that on a graph, you're going to choose any 2 points. As long as you pick a point that's on the corners of these little grids, of the little squares, those are good points to pick. So for example, if I decide on 2 points, I think the best ones that I can choose is maybe the 0 and -4 right here. I think this point looks pretty good. And also 2 and -1. Let's see, right here. This one looks pretty good. It looks like it's on the corner. So we have this point, 2 and -1, and this point was 0 and -4. So we're going to do the same thing where we do the change in y over the change in x. So it doesn't matter which one you start with. If I start with this one, I'm going to say, okay, -1 minus the other y, which is -4, over, now you go back to the point you started with, 2 minus 0. So now I'm just going to simplify this. Whenever you have this negative negative, it becomes a big plus, okay? So we have -1 plus 4, which gives us 3, over 2 minus 0, which is 2. So my rate of change is 3/2, which is letter D. Okay, the next one I want to go over is on the next page, which is number 11. Okay, so number 11 says, the table models the change in the value of a linear function f of x as x increases. So now we have a table and we have to find the rate of change. So to do that, we're still going to find the change in y over the change in x. So, but to do that here, we can see, how does the table change from here to here? How does it change from 5 to 3? Well, it's going down by how much? 2 spots. And how does it change from -1 to 0? It's going up 1. So then we're going to write here the change in y. Remember, f of x is y, so this bottom part is actually y. It's the change of -2 over the change in x, which is +1. So this is my rate of change. -2 divided by 1 is just -2. So when I graph it here, when I put it on my grid, you have to make sure that you bubble your negative and you bubble the 2. These kind of graphs, when you take the algebra end of course, you're going to see the gridables like this. And you could start your -2 here, or you could put negative and you can actually write the 2 at the very end. Both of those would be correct as long as you bubble them correct as well. But I tend to like to stick to the left side. Okay, that's it. So I hope that helps you with rate of change. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or you can contact your teacher for extra help. Thank you. Have a good day.